Welcome back everybody to another video. Today we are back for another episode of predicting whatever NFL teams 2021 and 2022 NFL season. It's been a little bit since I last uploaded. That wasn't really my plan, but I actually kind of figured since preseason was coming up, I was going to save some of these for people to play, and then I could kind of talk more about that. But I'm also not going to base too much off of preseason quite yet because, I'm going to get into that in just a second why, but it just, it's good to take certain things from it, but you shouldn't take, preseason to heart, because the year the Browns went 0-16, they were undefeated in preseason, so yes, there are good things to look for and bad things to look for, like you want to take things out of it, but don't, get dead set on it, because like I said, it doesn't mean anything, especially for that Browns year, but, we'll talk more about that, and guys, first off, if you guys enjoy football, whether that be video games like Madden or NFL, real life stuff like that, I do both, so be sure to subscribe button to never miss any of my football content on the channel. Today is the Houston Texans, so if you haven't seen one of these videos already, I basically just do a quick recap of 2020, talk about players, the team as a whole, and then go back to the top, predict everything back down, and talk about this upcoming year, things like that. And so for the Texans, we have, I believe, the passing yards leader, Deshaun Watson, in 2020. He played all 16 games. He had 4,823 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. I'm going to say right now, he's obviously has some legal issues going on. I'm not really going to get into all of that because I'm trying to keep it more about this season, about football. So I'm just going to get that out of the way now and say I don't know if he's going to, play the entire year or anything like that. So whenever I predict stats, I'm going to predict Deshaun Watson as if he's playing all 16 games for the Texans. I don't know if they're going to end up letting go of him, or if he's going to play all 16, or if he's not, or what's going to happen. That's how I'm going to handle that, though, so just getting that out of the way now. But yeah, obviously a great year from Deshaun. I mean, he did absolutely beyond what I think anybody really thought he could do with the people around him. So great year from him. Rushing receiving, honestly, it's interesting to look at because they were, I think, 4-11. I'm just going to double check that real quick. But yeah, it's 4-12, sorry. They were 4-12. In rushing receiving, it doesn't look too bad. Like they have David Johnson over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. He had 314 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, 691 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. That's not a bad year at all. You go down to receiving, you have Randall Cobb, who, he's a little old, but he had 3 touchdowns. He had 441 yards. He's gone, of course. He's on the Packers, but again, I'm recapping, not predicting everything quite yet. So not a bad year from him. Brandon Cooks had over 1,000 yards, all of which was receiving. He had 6 touchdowns. You have Will Fuller also, 8 touchdowns, 879 yards from scrimmage. So you have a lot of really good pieces, honestly. I don't really know where all the flaws are coming from. Because if you look at it on paper, it looks like you'd be a lot better than 4-12. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson's stats, even just the rushing receiving stats. It doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure if that's just the chemistry or maybe the defense, which we'll talk about in just a second. But not a bad year from these guys at all. Again, though, Randall Cobb, he is on the Packers again. And then as for Will Fuller, he's also gone. He's on the Dolphins. So those are 2 big hits for the Texans, especially Deshaun Watson, as long as he's their quarterback. Not as many targets at all. He's kind of left with Brandon Cooks, and that's about it. Darren Fells is pretty solid. It's starting to look a little bad for Deshaun. I'm not going to lie, for many different reasons, actually, which, you can take that as it is. Defensively, again, not a terrible year. It wasn't good. It wasn't, near as good as the offense. Honestly, interceptions, the leader was 1, and it was, Vernon Hargreaves had 1. J.J. Watt had 1, and that was it. So, I mean, honestly, if we're being real, pretty bad defensive year. I was trying to see the bright side of it, but not good. I mean, you only have 2 interceptions as a team. Really not good at all. QB hits, though, J.J. Watt had 17, and he also had 5 sacks. Again, he's gone. He's on the Cardinals. I mean, there's not much else to talk about because they don't really have anybody else. I believe the Texans were ranked 27th of 32 with defensive last year, so not the very bottom, but, they're just about there. Zach Cunningham, though, big piece of that defense. He had a great year, 164 combined tackles, 4 QB hits, 7 tackles for loss. Great year from him. Tyrell Adams had a very similar year, 125 combined sacks. That'd be insane. 125 combined tackles, 3 QB hits, and 5 tackles for loss. And then even Justin Reed, he had 6 tackles for loss. That's pretty good from the safety position. He didn't get an interception, but you know what? That might not be his game, honestly. I mean, Jamal Adams, I think he's pretty overrated personally, but there's no doubting his ability to get to the quarterback and just make tackles. So even if he's not getting 10 interceptions, he's still a big part of the defense. I think Justin Reid's probably pretty similar to that. And we're going to go back up to the top and talk about this upcoming year after I just recap 2020. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, especially if you're a Texan fan, it's not going to be good, if I'm being real. Going down to Deshaun Watson. So like I already said, I don't really know how to predict this because like if something happens and he doesn't play, like this is completely useless. But I think it's better that I actually at least predict him doing something than him doing nothing. So as long as he stays healthy, he had 4,823 passing yards. I'm going to say a little less, honestly. I'm going to say probably about 4,200. I think he'll still have a great year, just not as many targets to get the ground. And probably less touchdowns as well, probably more like 27. And then, I don't know, interceptions really just kind of depends on what reach he's going to make. If he has to just kind of run it more himself or, look out of the backfield, stuff like that. So it's going to be a rough year. That's as far as Deshaun Watson goes in passing. Rushing and receiving, David Johnson had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. I think he's going to have to step up in a big way. I mean, clearly I think they thought he could because they traded him for DeAndre Hopkins for whatever reason. I will never understand that. But hopefully he can step up and, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. And, he had a couple receiving touchdowns. He helped out there. He had a good year rushing. He's going to have to become a big part of the offense. Him and Brandon Cooks both because they really don't have anybody else at this point. It's kind of just Deshaun, Cooks, and Johnson for the offense. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody else, but just looking at it, you got Randall Cobb gone. I mean, you don't really have anybody. I mean, unless someone steps up that I'm not expecting to. That'd be great for him. But looking at this from how they played last year going into this year, you have the guys that actually did do pretty well. They're gone. So it's going to be pretty difficult to get the ball in the end zone. So for David Johnson, I'm going to say as long as he steps it up, probably 1,300 yards from scrimmage. I think more rushing and just more receiving. Not really lopsided or anything. I think he's just going to have to help out both. I will say more rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, though. And as for Brandon Cooks, I'm going to say he needs 1,400 yards, 1,400 receiving yards, and probably around 10 touchdowns if he's going to really, if the Texans are going to compete, they're going to need somebody to really step it up and become a huge player for this team. Because, before he was able to spread around, Deshaun would be able to spread around, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, stuff like that. Now you only got really one kind of top-tier receiver, and that's Brandon Cooks. And Will Fuller had 8 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns for someone that is not on the team anymore. So hopefully Brandon Cooks can be that guy for him. And also for the draft, they really didn't get anybody too crazy. I believe their first pick was the 67th, and they took a quarterback from Stanford, and I know they also took a receiver from Michigan. Maybe those guys can step up if Deshaun's not going to play. Maybe the quarterback comes in there. Or receivers, maybe that guy kind of, fills a place in there because I think he's going to have to. I don't think they really have many more receivers. Unless I'm forgetting a trade or something, but I'm very sure they don't. And defensively, it's going to be bad. I think it's pretty inevitable how bad this is going to be. Zach Cunningham, he needs to, seriously go off. Have the exact same year he just had, but with 2 interceptions. They got to get some turnovers somehow. Justin Reid, he needs some interceptions. Because when I look at this, that's what I see. I see 2 interceptions, and one of them was J.J. Watt on the D line. One person in your secondary got an interception. That is not okay for a whole season, especially if you're going to want to win games. And if you don't have Deshaun Watson, to kind of carry you and throw the ball all around different people, something has to step up if you're going to compete, and it needs to be defense regardless. And without J.J. Watt, it's obviously a huge hole. I'm not sure what they're going to do about that. I don't see the Texans really competing with a lot of the bigger teams this year. I think, every year they really seem to play the Colts really well. They're in the same division. They always seem to do that. I do believe they can probably compete with the Jaguars. I really don't think there's a chance they compete with the Titans, if I'm being honest with you guys. But I do think they usually play the Colts pretty well, so they might be able to sneak a game or two out of that. I doubt 2 a year, but, they always seem to slip maybe one in the win column. The Jaguars, they can definitely compete with the Jaguars. It's just going to come down to how the defense plays and what Deshaun can do with the ball and if Deshaun even plays. There's a lot of ifs, and that's why it's kind of hard to predict this team. But like I said, you never know, especially if Deshaun is able to still spread the ball around. Not as many targets, but to Brandon Cooks, 2 people like that. He's going to be able to get the job done. I don't see a better year than this past year. I don't see better than 4-12. Because it's going to be hard for the Texans to win some games this year. If I'm keeping it real, Deshaun's going to have to really go crazy if he's able to play. And he doesn't even want to be there anyway, so it's going to be really disheartening for him to really, You know, okay, who do I have open? Okay, Cook isn't open. Like, who am I going to give the ball to? You know, like, he needs some guys to step up. David Johnson has to go absolutely off, and we need the defense, or I guess you guys need the defense to really, you know, get some stops. Because right now, look at that past year, not many turnovers at all, and that is not good to see. So, hopefully the Texans can prove me wrong, but if I had to guess, I'm going to say a 3-14 season to 2-15 season, with there being 17 games played. I cannot see this being a good year. I really don't. So, hopefully I'm proved wrong for all you Texans fans, but I think realistically speaking, in my opinion, that's how I see this season going. But guys, I assume you guys are not all going to agree with me, and that is fine. So comment down below what you guys think the Texans are going to do this year. Whether Deshaun's actually have a good year or not, kind of their target, stuff like that. Just let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to never miss any of my football videos. Madden is coming very, very soon, I promise. I know all you guys that have subscribed to me for Madden are probably a little annoyed at this point. It is coming very soon, then we are back to just daily Madden uploads. I'm throwing this in there too. I'm going to try to get these out daily as possible. It's going to be a lot easier once the season starts, and I have things, you know, to talk about, because this is just kind of recapping and predicting. I don't have much to base it on because, you know, not many games are being played. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.